Either Kevin Stefanski thinks Shedeur Sanders is Magic City parking lot, straight ass, or he just don't like him. Seems as if he didn't care for him. Go through so many circumstances just to get on.
Outside the building isn't really in my control. It's not in my power. So I don't. You act like I could go out there and tell them to do whatever. You know, that's not nothing I could control or nothing I could do. But overall, you know, I'm just happy to be here. Coach Stefanski, he's been coaching since I got here, and he's been doing a very great job, you know, with everything that's going on. But on and off the field, we definitely grown. Our relationship and everything has grown, so I'm just thankful to be here.
T.J Houshmandzadeh just cracked open a can of chaos that the NFL can't ignore anymore. The former Browns wide receiver and current analyst didn't just share an opinion. He dropped a straight-up accusation that sent shockwaves through Cleveland and beyond. According to TJ, what went down between former head coach Kevin Stefanski and Shedeur Sanders wasn't football strategy, wasn't development, and definitely wasn't about patience. It was personal, and that changes everything.
Shedeur Sanders has been with the Browns through OTAs, rookie minicamp, and training camp. He knows the playbook, the head coach, the coordinator, and his teammates. And because he only gets one practice with the ones, it's sabotage. You've got to be kidding me.
TJ didn't dance around it or soften the edges either. He made it clear that this wasn't a misunderstanding or a clash of football philosophies. In his words, Stefanski never wanted Shedeur Sanders to see the field at all. Not one snap, not one real chance, not even when the situation demanded it. That alone raises red flags, but when you connect the dots, it starts to look even uglier. Let's be real for a second. Coaches are supposed to put the team in the best position to win, especially when the quarterback room is unstable. But TJ revealed that no matter how shaky the Browns situation became, Stefanski refused to pivot. This wasn't about protecting a rookie or easing him into the league.
Yes, a super quick follow-up on that. Why wouldn't you, just to see if it does anything to the offense, give him an opportunity to go in there and play?
Yeah, obviously my focus is where we are right now, Mary Kay. That's not my focus.
TJ flat out said this was about control, ego, and a coach who had already made up his mind before Shedeur ever took a meaningful rep. Think about the position Shedeur Sanders was put in. A young quarterback entering the league, trying to learn the system, earn trust, and prove he belongs, all while knowing the head coach doesn't believe in him. That's not competition, that's a dead end. TJ emphasized that everything happening on Sundays made sense once you understood what was happening Monday through Saturday behind closed doors. According to TJ, the resistance started.
He's drafted to a team that doesn't have an answer at quarterback. And now you're not giving me reps? I played a long time. I've never seen it.
The moment Shedeur arrived in Cleveland, there was pushback at every turn, limited opportunities, and a clear pattern of avoidance. This wasn't subtle either. TJ stressed that people inside the building noticed it, players felt it, and eventually the front office couldn't ignore it anymore. This wasn't speculation or social media noise. This was reality inside the Browns facility.
Stefanski full of shit. Oh, wow. He full of shit. You talk about instilling confidence into your players. How do you think that makes Shedeur fit?
And here's where the story really twists the knife. TJ pointed directly at this toxic dynamic as a major reason Kevin Stefanski is no longer the head coach of the Cleveland Browns. Let that sink in. When a coach's personal bias starts hurting player development, roster decisions, and team culture, the leash gets real short. TJ made it clear that the organization finally realized the damage being done.
Backup is, you got to be kidding me. Either Kevin Stefanski thinks Shedeur Sanders is Magic City parking lot, straight ass. Or he just don't like.
The Browns weren't just losing games, they were losing direction. The quarterback room had no identity, no stability, and no future plan. And yet, even in that chaos, Stefanski allegedly refused to give Shedeur Sanders a legitimate opportunity. That's not football logic. That's stubbornness bordering on self-sabotage. TJ went further.
Walked up to you after taking his walk down to the pylon, and then he walked back up to you on the sidelines before Snoop went in, and he said something to you. You shook your head. I mean, was he trying to get back into it?
He's a competitive kid. The plan was to go with Snoop there, so, but I wouldn't make any more of it than that.
Explaining how ridiculous the situation had become. Cleveland was desperate for answers at quarterback, cycling through uncertainty while potential sat untouched. In moments like that, smart organizations evaluate everything. They test talent. They adapt. But according to TJ, Stefanski dug his heels in even deeper. Imagine being in Shedeur Sanders' shoes. Every rep feels like an audition. Every practice is under a microscope, and yet the decision makers already closed the door. That messes with confidence, rhythm, and growth. TJ didn't say Shedeur was perfect. He said he was never given a fair shot. And in the NFL, opportunity is everything.
You're going to get everybody's best every single game out. But to me, when teams blitz him, I don't look at it as we going to see if Shedeur can handle the blitz. We blitzing him because we know he don't have guys on the outside that can win and make us pay. That's why they blitzing him. If he had guys on the outside that can win and make him pay, they wouldn't blitz. If Jerry Jeudy is constantly winning when they blitzing, they not going to blitz.
Yeah.
If one of those receivers starts making big plays, the blitz will be stopped. We can't blitz him no more.
The most damning part of TJ's revelation is what it says about leadership. A coach's job isn't just to call plays, it's to develop talent and build belief. When personal feelings override football decisions, the entire locker room feels it. That's how trust erodes and cultures collapse. By the time the Browns made the call to move on, the damage was already done. But TJ pulling back the curtain finally gave context to what fans had been questioning all season. The confusion, the hesitation, the wasted potential. It all traces back to one uncomfortable truth that Cleveland can't ignore anymore. Do whatever it takes to win football games. That's the standard in the NFL.
Data shows how Stefanski used plays to sabotage Shedeur. Here we go. You guys are great. You mean you talk about these statistics?
Cleveland Browns firing head coach Kevin Stefanski makes it impossible to ignore how differently he treated Shedeur Sanders versus Dillon Gabriel, and the data proves it. Let's start with opportunity, because opportunity isn't just pass attempts, but it's when you're allowed to throw. These bars shows who the Browns trusted to throw early while the game was still in neutral and after successful plays. Dillon Gabriel was consistently allowed to throw early and in rhythm. Shedeur Sanders, on the other hand, was asked to throw after things broke down. And that difference shapes everything.
Except, according to everything that played out, Kevin Stefanski never lived by that rule when it came to Shedeur Sanders. His demeanor, his body language, his press conferences, and his decisions all screamed the same message loud and clear. Shedeur was never going to be his quarterback, no matter what happened on the field. Every move Stefanski made pointed in one direction. Practice reps, weekly game plans, roster decisions, even how the quarterback room was structured. None of it aligned with winning at all costs. It all aligned with keeping Shedeur Sanders away from the spotlight. This wasn't competition. This wasn't evaluation. This was a hard stop before the race even started. Let's stop pretending this was about football philosophy. According to what T.J Houshmandzadeh laid out, this wasn't about scheme fit or protecting a young quarterback. This was personal. And when personal feelings start dictating football decisions, careers get damaged fast. A young quarterback's future was being quietly crushed before it ever had a real chance to breathe. And here's the part people keep missing. TJ didn't just speak up after Stefanski was fired, trying to sound smart in hindsight. He was calling this out during the season.
One thing both of them have said is absolutely true, is that Shedeur didn't get the fair chance from day one.
Yeah.
Wow. That's a fact.
Kevin Stefanski doesn't have the right to play Shedeur Sanders because the fans and the people that support Shedeur Sanders is calling for him to play Shedeur Sanders. It was all kinds of narratives out there. We saw a lot of flipping back and forth between the Cleveland media because when Dillon Gabriel was in there as a starter, we saw what Dillon Gabriel brought to the table.
You know, that's what Andrew Berry said. So I don't know how I could have a different answer than that.
Yeah.
He was very vague, non-committal, and he admitted that, we're gonna look into the quarterback position. He didn't say, we have a number of good quarterbacks on hand already. He said we're going to explore the quarterback position. Yeah. So and he didn't know where it was headed. And he also said that the head coach would contribute to that. So I don't think anything's going to change until they hire.
While Stefanski still had power, still had control, and still had the organization backing him, TJ was already sounding the alarm. That matters. That takes backbone. T.J Houshmandzadeh wasn't chasing headlines. He was speaking from experience. He's been in NFL locker rooms, he's played under real coaches, and he knew what he was watching didn't add up. When someone with that resume says something isn't right, people should listen. TJ didn't sugarcoat his criticism either. He openly questioned Stefanski's treatment of Shedeur Sanders while knowing full well it wouldn't be popular. That tells you this wasn't personal for TJ. It was about fairness and football integrity. He genuinely cared about what was happening to the Browns and to a young quarterback stuck in a bad situation. One of the most damning things TJ said was that he had never seen a coach show such a little interest in putting a player in position to succeed. Let that sink in. Not disagreement, not trial and error. Straight up disinterest. That's not development, that's neglect. We're not talking about a coach who tried different approaches and failed. We're not talking about a coach experimenting and adjusting. We're talking about a head coach who refused to give a player the tools, reps, and confidence needed to even compete. That's not football, that's blocking a path on purpose. TJ made it clear that Stefanski's approach felt more personal than professional. Favoritism wasn't hidden. It was obvious. Other quarterbacks were getting reps they didn't earn. Other players were getting opportunities while Shedeur watched from the sidelines. If you were paying attention, the bias was impossible to ignore. TJ even warned during the season that if this perception didn't change, the pressure on Stefanski would explode. Fans were already restless, players were confused, and the quarterback situation was spiraling. He said the calls for Stefanski's job would get louder, and that's exactly what happened. Fast forward to now, and everything TJ said lines up perfectly. The coaching change wasn't shocking, it was inevitable. The aftermath only confirms what was already brewing beneath the surface.
Anyway, the Browns would trade Shedeur Sanders before the deadline. Tony.
I don't think anybody wants him, Riz,
Okay.
I'm being honest.
Okay.
I mean,
Okay.
the Raiders passed on Tom Brady.
Yeah, I know, but it's different circumstances now, Tony.
Well,
the
they got
Raiders thought
Pickett
Geno
now.
Smith.
They-
Wait. The Raiders
They
thought
got
Geno.
Pickett.
The Raiders thought Geno Smith could play, and he can't. So for a 4th-round pick or 5th-round pick, you take a flyer on a guy. You don't think anybody would do that.
I don't, Riz.
Okay.
I don't.
Okay.
I mean, they
Why?
when they
would
needed
no
one, they
why
asked
would
for
no one-
Pickett.
Why would no one want Shedeur Sanders?
Because I think everyone made their statement about what they thought of him during the draft.
Yeah, but Tony, that was 7 months ago.
Well, he's not gotten any better, Riz.
Well, they don't know. I'm just saying, but like,
they see the film of the Rams game.
did they see the film of the Panthers
And
game?
the kick, yeah, I know, yeah, that
that
Super
game,
Bowl
see,
performance.
to you,
yeah,
that
they
game
have
doesn't count. Okay?
Well, it
to
was
me,
the
that
first
game counted for something. It did. And by the way,
It's a
he
what
was
have you
playing
done
with
for
the
me
twos.
lately
By the
league.
way, he was playing with the twos. You're blatant, you just blatantly, the guy played with 4 offensive linemen that didn't make the team, and you're just dismissing that as if it meant nothing. At no point did Dylan Gabriel play with 4 offensive linemen that are no longer on the team. Call it for what it is. Please,
the league
for
knows,
the love of
the
God,
league knows
just
who
give
was
me
on
that.
the field.
For the
Riz.
love of God.
The league knows who was on the field, okay? That's no excuse for anything. That happens to backup quarterbacks all over
Well,
the
then
league.
what in the world is
preseason.
this kid doing on the Browns roster now if he's as bad as you think he is?
It's not how I think he is.
As the whole freaking league thinks he is, according to you.
Yes.
You think the whole league thinks he sucks. Why is he on a roster? Why is he taking up a spot? Why?
That I can't answer. That's
Yeah, you can't answer.
Since April 28th, we've been wondering why.
When you look back, Stefanski's explanations fall apart fast. Every excuse sounded polished but empty. Development, timing, scheme fit. It was all smoke. The reality was simpler and much uglier. Shedeur Sanders was never part of the plan. He wasn't given first-team reps even when the offense stalled. He wasn't given chances when the starters struggled. In a league where competition is supposed to decide everything, Shedeur was locked out of the competition entirely. Ask yourself this. How do you justify refusing to let a young quarterback compete when the position is clearly unstable? You can't. And that's why the pattern matters. Week after week, the same behavior repeated. Avoidance, deflection, and silence. When you connect the dots, the picture becomes crystal clear. Shedeur Sanders wasn't just overlooked. He was actively sidelined. This wasn't just a setback. His development was slowed. His confidence took hits. His career trajectory was put at risk, all because one coach let personal bias override professional responsibility. At times, it went even deeper than game decisions. There were moments when Kevin Stefanski reportedly avoided even saying Shedeur Sanders' name in press conferences and internal team discussions. That's how far this situation spiraled. This wasn't just about limiting snaps or holding him back on the depth chart. It was about erasing him from the conversation entirely, like he wasn't even part of the future. Now stop and really think about that. Imagine being a young quarterback fighting for your place in the NFL, grinding every day, studying film, showing up early, staying late, and your head coach won't even acknowledge your existence. The psychological toll of that kind of treatment is enormous. Confidence doesn't just disappear overnight. It gets worn down piece by piece. When people point to Shedeur Sanders' struggles this season, they keep missing the real cause. Quarterbacks don't develop in a vacuum. You have to look at the environment, the coaching, the trust, and the support system around them. When those things are broken, performance suffers, period. Shedeur never had stability. He never had consistent messaging. He never had the kind of backing that young quarterbacks need to grow. Under Kevin Stefanski, he wasn't put in a position to succeed, and that's not opinion anymore. That's reality confirmed by people who were inside the building. This isn't internet noise or fan speculation. Former players have gone on record calling out the situation publicly. When players with real NFL experience speak up, that matters. And when those same concerns are followed by a coaching change, it tells you everything you need to know. Now the responsibility shifts squarely to the Cleveland Browns organization. Stefanski is gone, but the damage doesn't magically disappear with him. The franchise now has to clean up the mess that was left behind. That means recommitting to Shedeur Sanders the right way. They need to rebuild his confidence. They need to give him real coaching, real reps, and real belief. Development doesn't happen through silence and avoidance. It happens through trust, communication, and opportunity. This isn't about handing anything to Shedeur. It's about giving him what every young quarterback deserves: a fair shot, a legitimate chance to compete, a coach who actually wants him there. And let's be clear, that coach cannot look or operate anything like Kevin Stefanski. The Browns don't need another system-first leader who ignores the human side of development. They need someone who understands quarterbacks are investments, not inconveniences.
This is the perfect example of take all your confidence away from a player. It really, he must got some pictures or some evidence on Jimmy Haslam. I've never seen anything like this. I don't know who the backup is.
Bro.
Listen, players in the locker room that like Shedeur off of that comment, they don't mess with Kevin Stefanski. They don't fuck, because you are really trying to lower this man's confidence. Shedeur, I don't know him. He comes off as uber confident.
Yep.
These type of statements makes you think, damn, I'm not that good?
Mm-hmm.
Right now, Cleveland is standing at a crossroads. One path leads to growth, accountability, and finally learning from past failures. The other leads right back to dysfunction, wasted talent, and repeating the same mistakes with different faces. This moment matters. What the Browns do next will define the direction of the franchise for years. You can't talk about culture change if you don't actually change how players are treated behind the scenes. One thing is no longer debatable. The truth is out. The curtain has been pulled back, and there's no pretending this didn't happen. What comes next will tell everyone exactly who the Cleveland Browns really are.